enjoying very much the Hemshech of learning every day. It's becoming addictive to me. I hope to you too, but to me,
Let's continue.
it's just the Hemshech is. But let's remember, since we're changing sugyas here just to drop, let's remember what sugya we're talking about, because that's the overall sugya. And the overall sugya is a very deep sugya. A very deep question is, what is the positioning of the human being in the entire Bria? The Bria, we don't mean just the nature of the world that we see it. We're talking about the Ribuoin, Elamais, right? 100 million worlds. What's our connection to that? So on the one hand, to sum up, this is what we said. On the one hand, it sounds like we're in control of that. On the other hand, it sounds like we're the acclaimed Bria. We're not in control of it, it's controlling us. So which is it? The answer is that it's silly to say lo yitachin loymar, that we're in control. God is in control, but it's yitachin loymar apparently that we're not in control of the bria. We're not like God, as it might seem to sound from reading the let's say the tales of the Baal Shem Tov or something. That we're sort of in control. We're levitating. We're doing all kinds of miracles. No, that's not the pshat. The pshat is that we have a huge influence on the bria from down here, and we explained yesterday that the reason for that is because it's not just that we're the end of the bria, and let's keep this in mind. It's not we're the end of the bria, but the way the bria worked, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that everything created had what was before it Kollel Bais HaTalmud. So everything that was created was the day before plus. And you find this, by the way, before in the Zohar. So everything came from something else. It's a separate issue, but it's a very interesting issue. But what's important for us right now to understand is that the Adam, the man, is not the head of the Bria, but the culmination of the Bria. And the way I explained it, which I think is pretty human and logical, easy to understand, is that it means the culmination, it means the purpose of the Bria. Tachlis of the Bria. The Tachlis of the Bria is the Adam. The Adam is the one who's supposed to take, as I said in the mashal, all the nails and the wood and the cement and put it all together to make the Mishkan LaHashem, to make the Dira B'Tachtonim. So that's our purpose. The mashal I gave was the human body itself, which is often in Nefesh Hachaim and sefer Kabbalah used as the mashal for the way the world works. And you can see that, the Vilna Gaon says a very interesting medical fact. He says that if you'll take any piece of skin from the body, any drop of blood from the body, you'll be able to know the condition of the entire body. He wasn't speaking medically, he was speaking Kabbalistically, but it's not interesting medically also.
Way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time. So, because, you hear about these things where they can take a piece of hair and tell you what everything about you, So I haven't found that person yet. I also don't have too much hair, but it's a very interesting thing. So what it means to me is that like the human, just like in the human body, it's all one thing. It's not you can't sadna da'ara chadhu. Your person is one thing. To say you should deal holistically or you should not deal holistically is a silly argument. Of course you should deal holistically, just people don't know how to do it properly. And the people that do deal holistically tend to be flaky. But for sure, I'll be svara and I'll be that a person is one person. So it comes out that every part of the body, not even just your feet, like I said, every part of your body is a culmination of the rest of it. So if you take that mashal, and meaning that you see it very, very clearly in the nerve endings of a person. You see it very, very clearly in So as Rav Vil said just now, beautiful shot that the person has over 100 million nerves in their body. There's nervous systems, which are much less, but you have neurons like I don't know how they got to the number 100 million, just like we got the number Rebaid. It means a big number of probably. I don't think anybody counted 100 million. But 100 million neurons, and you see that b'tzarasam leitzar. If that's the right mashal, you see when we're in pain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in pain. Kaviyachol. So it means to say that you can't isolate your finger from your foot. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. It doesn't make a difference what's in pain. I'm depressed. My foot hurts. It doesn't make any difference what's in pain. The whole body's in pain. You can't isolate anything. So obviously everything is holistic. It's ridiculous to say everything's not holistic. You can't say my foot hurts but the rest of me's fine. Or somebody once told me, how do you feel? He said, other than my health, I feel fine. Like, how do you can't compartmentalize your physical aspect or your spiritual aspect. It's all same zach. But let's get to the next thing, and then we'll get back to it. Just keep that in mind. The last paragraph where we left off in Parak Zayin, V'hu inyan ha-kruvim. Now the kruvim is a sugya, which I want to spend some time on because I don't understand and I want to learn about the kruvim. But okay, everybody knows that in both in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu and in the time of Shlomo HaMelech, there was an Aron. Times of Bais Sheni, there was no Aron. The Aron was nignaz by Yoshiyahu HaMelech at the end of the 22 years before the end of the before the Korban of the Bais Rishon. But until that 22 years, there was an Aron, and the Aron had a kaparis. And the kaparis had on it the cover, and the kaparis means cover, and on the kaparis is kruvim. Big shaila like the Briskerov and the Tziv, whether the kruvim were part of the art or was not a separate, be counted as a separate kli hamishkan. It was a separate thing. It was like a keli on top of a keli, or was that the art? Was that the keli of the art? So that's I believe that's Chakira in the Briskerov is going to be. So he brings a raya from the Rambam lists the amount of kelim that there are in the Mishkan. He says that the kruvim was a keli.
Wasn't attached to the cover?
So
Who
says a keli can't be attached? It's not a. But on the other hand, I just want to say this about the Briskerov. The Rambam doesn't say that the Ard was a keli. Because the Ard wasn't a keli, the Ard was the Ard. That was possibly the whole thing. In other words, the way, so probably the Briskerov's going with his father, Chaim Brisker, excuse my tangent, I just want to tell you this, that the whole Mishkan and the whole Beis HaMikdash was all about a place for the Aron. The Aron wasn't the Keli. The Aron was what the whole building was about. You can't say it was a Keli. So B'Mela, the first Keli, if you will, was the Kruvim. And then the second Keli was the Kodesh HaKadoshim, etc. You know, the Keli.
The Kaparis is the art. Why divide them up?
The Kaparis was part of the art because it says in the Chumash Vasu, alright, Atse Shitim. So that includes the Kaparis. 3 boxes with the Kaparis on top. So you have 4 walls to the art, or however many walls, so 6 walls to the art. So that's the Kaparis. But Asata Aleim es HaKaparis. So that's the Briskerov's Diakon Chumash, Briskerov Alatar. That's a Diakon Chumash, that the Kaparis is something you put al HaKaparis. It wasn't part of the Kaparis, even though it was tzamud, and it was certainly never removed, but it wasn't part of it. I somehow feel this is going to be important in the technology of how this worked. But you had these Kruvim. And the Kruvim, so famously, how were the Kruvim faced? Two things that we need to know before we even start the sugya. How are they faced? So the Chumash, it says, Vasisa aleim shnei hakruvim panav el ish el achiv. Ish el achiv. So clearly they were facing each other. And what's also important as a Yisoid is that the 2 kruvim, one represented HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one represented Klal Yisrael, and what's also important is that one was a Zachar and one was a Nekeh. Which one was God? Zachar. Why are you so sure? Chauvinist you?
He started everything.
So we're the Kala. Let's say like this, Noisenu Makabel. In Kabbalistic language, Chachmo Bina. Noisenu Makabel. So, I mentioned on Tisha B'Av, I just want to say it again real quickly, that, Mar says that the enemy came into the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash by the Bais Rishon, and they found the Kruvim Meurim Zebazeh. Exaggerated. It wasn't just that they were facing each other, but they were Meurim Zebazeh. right? So, and they paraded it through the streets, and they said, look at Klal Yisrael, we're Oived Avodah Zarah, they're Oived Avodah Zarah, we're doing Gilui Arayis, they do Gilui Arayis, no difference. So I asked the Kash on Tisha B'Av, as a Kiddush Zayin, because Yoshio buried the Aron 22 years before there was before there was a Chorban. So what does it mean when the Bavlim came into the thing? They came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim to destroy it. They paraded the Aron. There was no Aron to parade. So one teretz, according to the Brisker Rav, could be that the Kruvim stayed, and the only thing that he was Batzniya was the Aron. According to the Brisker Rav, that's Meduyak, right? But that's not the true teretz. The true teretz is that the Babylonians never saw the Aron, because if you look at the Medrash Rabbah, it's clearly that it was 27 years before the Chorban Bayis Rishon that Ammon and Moav came out of the desert, and Ammon and Moav, that incubator for Mashiach, don't forget, Ammon and Moav came along, and they said, let's make a pirza into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which was nothing new because the Yevanim did that also later. Let's make a pirza, or Yevanim nikbetzu and fartzu chaybois bigdola. So let's make a pirza into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. They took the Aron and they paraded it through the streets, and that's where the Aron was. And it was actually, this is the correct history, Yoshiyahu Amelach, who was a tzaddik, Roy Lios Mashiach, according to one Dabar. So he captured the Aron back, brought it back into Kodesh HaKadoshim. He said, this is Shoinish good. We have to go and we have to hide it. So that's actually the history of but what we need to know, the Yesodus that we need to know, is that there were two Kruvim. Maybe they were part of the Aron, maybe they were not part of the Aron. It was called one of the Kliyat Mikdash, according to the Rambam. They were Pnei Amish El Achiv, it says in the Chumash, and they were Zachar and Nekeva, one representing HaKadosh Baruch Hu and one representing Klal Yisrael. So that's our background information. Says the Nefesh Hachaim,
The discussion on the standing kruvim, where does that come into?
Different thing. We're going to get to that. V'hu inyan kruvim shayu b'urin, and this is the pshat of the kruvim, and he's Myrich, by the way, for 3 or 4 chapters of the kruvim, which is why I want to get it clear. V'hu inyan kruvim shayu me'urin. Me'urin means intertwangled, I think. Kimar, right? Those are codependent kruvim. Kimar ish. Don't read this wrong, like Yeshivish, read it correctly. Kimar ish ulayos. Did you read it that way? Live vayos, everybody says. Is that true? Layos. Okay, what does it mean? Okay. Ukibar ish ulvilayos pleiam ish el achiv. So in Malachim, where it's talking about the Aron of who? Shlomo HaMelech, right? So over there, Kimar ish ulayos pleiam ish el achiv. When he set it up ish el achiv, just like Moshe Rabbeinu did. Ubekruve shloimo. So that's talking about Shlomo HaMelech. I'm sorry, that's talking about Ubekruve shloimo ksiv. So Bashma, the first one is still the Pneim Labayis, that they were turned to the Bayis. Now let me ask you this question: did Shlomo HaMelech have a different Aron than the Aron of the Mishkan? The Aron crossed the Yarden. The Aron went to Shiloh. The Aron went to Shlomo HaMelech. So what's he talking about? Aron Shlomo. So go back to the Brisker Rav. Not talking about the Aron was the same Aron. The Kruvim were new. Get it?
And no longer facing each other.
And then Shlomo HaMelech made them no longer facing, so Pneim Labayis. Which is Gufa Kasha. Why would he put a Pneim Labayis if it says in the Torah Ish Alachim? So that's where our sugya begins. But Lefi the Brisker Rav, that's why I told you it was Brisker Rav. It was a separate issue. So they brought the Aron. So in all the pictures you see of the Aron standing in the middle of the Yarden and the Yarden splitting, there's no Kruvim on there. So right, the Kruvim can only be when it's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. There's no Kruvim. You're not walking around with the Aron and the Kruvim. They weren't walking. So they had Kruvim, and the Kruvim went on the Aron. So now Shlomo HaMelech made new Kruvim, and he made them not like it says in the Torah, Pella, but Pneim Alabayis.
What's the Peshat translation of Pneim Alabayis?
Panim el Habayis, meaning facing Mizrach.
So they both faced
Yeah.
the same direction, not outwards?
They both faced, kind of away from each other. Not opposite ways. They both looked straight. So it means, I understand it. Here, which part is the bias? Moshe is asking a very good question. Where's the bias? This whole thing is a bias. What's the bias? Well, the bias means Mizrach, Rashi says. So Rashi's name al bias means it faced Mizrach lat. In the Kodesh Kodashim, the holiest place was Ashchina b'Mizrach. So what you had over here was here's your Aaron, here's your Kaparas. So in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, it sounds like from the Chumash and from Sefer Malachim that it was Pneim Ish Alachiv. They stared each other in the eyes, and meaning God and the Jewish people symbolically. And in the time of Shlomo HaMelech, he set them up lechatchila that it should be Pneim El Habayis. We're not talking about any miracles here. He set them up lechatchila Shlomo HaMelech that they should be Pneim El Habayis, a Pella.
So if these are new Kruvim, it implies Yoshiyahu buried the Kruvim.
Shaar was way after Shlomo?
We lost a lot of the Kalim. The Romans took them. The Babylonians took them.
Yoshiyahu is after Shlomo. So
What?
no.
No, Yoshiyahu. Yeah, it was of course
It
after.
means that there were two sets of Kruvim. There's a set the Talmud and the set that...
That's Shlomo.
Shlomo.
Correct.
So where did they put it first?
The first set of Kruvim? I don't know. It's unknown. Not known. A lot. What are the? I mean, you could ask Akasha on all the Kalim of the Mishkan. Where did those Kalim go? So I saw once somewhere that they were destroyed in Shiloh. There was a Harvard in Shiloh. Don't know. It's when I say I don't know, I mean I don't know. I mean it's I have a suffix, and it's a legitimate query to me what happened to those Kalim. But you see, in any case, the dimensions were even different between Shlomo HaMelech and Masechta Midos. You see, the dimensions were different. They didn't go clearly with the dimensions of B'Tzalel. Interesting.
Did you say what the lawyers was?
What was?
The lawyers. What is it?
It means surrounded. That's what the word means.
Surrounded.
Surrounded Pneihem Ish Alachiv. Kimar Ish V'Layos. It was like the entanglement of man and those that surround him. Pneihem Ish Alachiv. The pasuk needs hezber, but that's what it means. It's a similar lashon to Leviah, but it's not the same word. It's not the same word. Hine. So paraches. Let's. This is real learning. So let's pay attention here. Hine Chazal Amar B'Nina Kruvim. We're going to look at that Gemara. Baba Basra Tzadik Tesam and Aleph. Chazal say Ketzad Hein Oimdin. The Gemara has a shaila Ketzad Hein Oimdin. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Lazar. This is a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Lazar. I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to open the Gemara in Baba Basra Tzadik Tesam and Aleph, which you can follow along in, but I want to see the Rashba. So here it says like this. It says in Shmois Chavches. Here we go. Ketzad Hein Oimdo. That's the Gemara's question. Ketzad Hein Oimdo. Unclear. Why is it unclear? Because we have a stira and psukim between the Chumash and Shlomo HaMelech. That's why it's unclear. So Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar, this is a machlekes, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Chad Omar, Rabbi Yochanan holds Pnei Ish Alachiv. In the Beis HaMikdash, Chad Omar Pnei Labayis. Man Omar Pnei Ish Alachiv. So, for the Gemara, that how could you say Pnei Ish Alachiv by the Mikdash of Shloimei? Haksiv, it says before in Divrei Hayamim, where it describes the Mikdash of Shloimei, Pnei Labayis. Kenush Zayin, it says before Pnei Labayis. Says the Gemara like Kasha, famous answer. Kam Bizman Yisrael Oisim Ritzon Shemach and Kam Bizman She'ein Yisrael Oisim Ritzon Shemach. Ooh. So all of a sudden we're introduced with a new concept that was it Pnei Labayis? No, it was Pnei Ish Alachiv. Who says that? Rabbi Yochanan. It was Pnei Mishal Achiv. Why does it say Pnei Labayis? The answer is, it depends. How do you understand that? That there was some kind of a nest. Right? It was a nest. Like it turned around based on the condition of the Jewish people. Based on the condition of our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it turned around. Isn't that how everyone understands it? Okay. Kan Bizman Shein, it's not Muchach in the Gemara, because the Gemara could say that they changed it. Maybe the Kohen Gadol changed it or something. But the way we understood it as children is that it was a nest that took place. Kam Bizman Shein Yisrael Oiser Ritzayin Shalom. Ulaman Damar Pneim Labayis, and according to Rebbe Lozer, that says, what do you mean? It says in Divrei Yom Pneim Labayis. Haksiv, what did Shlomo HaMelech do with the pasuk of Pnei Mishal Achiv? If you're holding that's what Shlomo HaMelech did, Pnei Labayis, what does he do with the pasuk in Chumash, in Shmois Chaf Hei? Says the Gemara, Gevaldik de Mitzadadei Atzdodei. Okay, according to that, they were on a slant. Gevaldik. Tanya, like we learned in the Brisa, Unklus Hageroimer, there's a maimer from Unklus, Kruvim Maisit Sa'atsuim Heim, Umitzaidadim Pneim Ketalmid Hanifter Mirabbai. So Unklus taught us, where's this Unklus in Divrei Hayamim, the Maisit Sa'atsuim, that there was movement in it, and it was Mitzaidadim Pneim Ketalmid Hanifter Mirabbai. Now let's just think about this for a second. So, when Shlomo HaMelech set up the Beis HaMikdash, forget about the Nes for a second. When Shlomo HaMelech set up the Beis HaMikdash, how did he do it? Pneim El Abayis or Pneim Yishal Achiv?
El Abayis.
Well, it says in the pasuk, Pneim El Abayis. According to the first Mandomer, right? According to Rabbi Yochanan. No, according to Rabbi Lazar. According to Rabbi Lazar, it's Pnei El Abayis, and that's how he set it up. And according to the Shita that says Pnei Mishal, that it was El Habayis, you have to say the first teretz says. In other words, how did he set it up? Forget about what happened. The Ness. How did he set it up? So he set it up Pnei El Abayis, according to everybody. According to everybody. Either you hold that was how they were, so it was Pnei El Abayis, or he set it up Pnei El Abayis, and they miraculously turned. So why would he set it up?
That's the question.
Of Einois and Ritzonei Shalmach.
That's the question. Why?
Why would he do that? Like, why would he make our default status Einois and Ritzonei Shalmach?
Isn't it somewhere in the middle though?
Well, yes.
They're not really looking away from each other, they're looking...
No, so the answer is the Gemara, the Mitzadadei Atzdodei. So Mitzadadei Atzdodei means it was someplace in the middle.
No, that's it sounds like he held it, Lechatchila set it up to give a slant.
Right. So you have to learn that he set up Lechatchila on a slant. So the Rashbam here, Rashbam is the Pirush Baba Basra, the Rashi Baba Basra, if you will. Mitzadadei Atzdodei, Ksas Labayis, Uksas Zelazet. It was a shtickle this way, a shtickle that way. So this was Shlomo HaMelech's Chachma. L'shitasai, like cutting babies in half and things like that. He was the great
Divider.
Right.
Great divider.
Great divider. So what he did is he, look, not right this way, it's not right that way. But, so he didn't want to set it up, interesting. He didn't want to set it up, Pnei Mishal Achiv. Apparently that wasn't the situation. He didn't want to set it up Pnei Labayis, because that's not the right way. So he set Pnei Labayis as opposed to Pnei Mishal Achiv, but really it was Mitzadei Atzdodei. Everybody with me? So it says Rashbam, Ksas Labayis, Uksas Zelazeh. Ki Adam Shemedaber im Chaferoi, Ki Adam Shemedaber im Chaferoi, V'hoifech Roishei Ksas L'tzad Acher. So you have here three situations, if I may. One situation is, let's say you and me are talking, Elias. So what situations like this? I'm looking a completely different way, you're looking a completely different way. And what kind of conversation? And then you can say to me, listen, if you want to talk to me, look at Right. So that's one situation. Shlomo Melech did not set up the Beis HaMikdash that way. But that's a situation in the case. There's another situation where we're looking straight each other in the eyes. And that's how we're talking. That means we're in love. So the Rashbam says, what does it mean when it's studei atzadoide? We're friends. So you have three madregas here. You have the madrega where we're looking away from each other. We're facing different directions. Not back to back, but we're both facing the bayis. We're not looking at each other. We're both looking out into the thin air. We have another situation where we're deeply in love. And you have another situation where we're friends. Interesting thing, right? So anybody, let's say, who's married has had all three situations. These are three situations. What?
It's hard to remember one.
Which one?
The
We have a different group for that.
Rashbam says according to Rabbi Yochanan, someone made them facing each other, and I guess they only turned away later.
Could be.
So according to Rabbi
Could be.
Lezer-
I'm not clear. Yeah.
So according to Rabbi Lezer, it's always the same thing, no? Is it the Kruvim are a different type of relationship according to Rabbi Lezer?
According to Rebbe Lozer, it's kechaver.
They don't
Always.
Move. They don't move.
No. How do you know they don't move?
He never said it because the whole seer was according to Rabbi Yochanan.
We don't know. It's not muchach whether they move or they don't
Because
move.
we're not giving different situations.
Yeah, but you
for
see,
Rabbi Lezer.
yeah, hello. But you see that when the enemies came in, they were mu'urim zebazeh. So history tells us they're mu'urim zebazeh. You know, I have to say this, I wrote on Tisha B'Av, I sent out this email with the Dvar Torah every week, but around Tisha B'Av, so I was talking about the Keruvim, and that's how the enemy found them. Ammon and Moav found them, and like this one guy who's a friend of mine, huge apocalypse, he says, "Come on, like why would you believe that there was a miracle that happened that they turned it?" So I told him I also believe in Kriyas Yamsuf. Why is this such a pellet to you? Like I also believe the mud fell from Shabbat. You know, I mean, you could have discredited me a long time ago when you stuck out the Keruvim over here. But it made me think that like Taka, what was going on over here? But again, what I'm saying, what I think what we see clearly here is that there were three different matzavim. Yeah, let's look at the Gemara a little bit further. That's not what the Gemara says. That's what the Gemara says. So says the Nefesh Hachaim. One more time. Hine Chazal Amar Binyan Kruvim Ketzad Einoim De Rabbi Yaacov Haber Lazar Chan Amar Pnei Mishalachiv V'Chan Amar Pnei Labayis Uman Amar Pnei Mishalachiv Haksiv U'Pnei Labayis Lekasha Kan B'Zman She Yisrael Oisim Ritzon Yishamakim Kan B'Zman She Ein Yisrael Oisim Ritzon Yishamakim Ayin Rashi Uman Amar Pnei Labayis I don't know where it got Rashi U'Panan Amar Pnei Labayis Haksiv U'Pnei Mishalachiv U'Mitzadei Etzadudei I don't know why it brings Rashi as the Gemara says. Right, so Lemmer Ksas Labayis Ksas Elazeb Ayin Rashi Sam. I have a feeling that it's a printing mistake. I think it's the Rashbam. Because the Rashbam says, that according to the Tzad, bear with me for a moment, that it's Sedodei at Sedodei, so then, like you're saying, it doesn't indicate that they turn necessarily. The Kivin de Ikar Siyas Hakruvim Pneim Labayis, like Hayil Asoisam. If that was the default status of Pneim Labayis, so then you don't have to have them turning. Tosfos says that probably the way they did it is Oisim Ritzon Shamakim. I'm going to leave off with this kasha. Still a kasha. After everything that we learned, the question is, why didn't they face them towards each other? Who's they? Shlomo Melech. Why didn't this? Is, we're going to leave with this kasha today. That why didn't? It's a very profound question with a very profound answer. That the profound question is that Sof Kol Sof Shlomo Melech in his chachma decided that the default status of Klal Yisrael with Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Sadudei Atzadoyu. And it could be there was a miracle that happened according to one shita. There was a miracle that happened that they drained around Pneim Ish El Achiv Mamish. And according to the Rashbam, so let me just end off by saying this is Nakuda here, the way I see it. And that is that there's the Pnei Mishal Abayis never happened, according to this. That's for Oisfarfs. That's not going to happen. What happened, it means there's two conditions, three possible conditions and two actual conditions between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. Either we're friends or we're in love. So Sedudei Atstoidei allowed for a friendship relationship. So that's like Rashbam says, Kimadaber Ishim Reyehu. So a friendship relationship is such that we're facing each other, but we're not mamash staring at each other in the eyes. A loving relationship is when we turn to each other and we mamash look at each other straight in the eyes. That's the loving relationship. So it could be that according to the Shita that says that it was Ma'aseh Tzatzuyim Haim, that it turned around, like the Onkelos says, that it turned around and meant to say that when we were in really good shape with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we were madly in love. And when we were madly in love, it was Pnei Mishal Achiv, we mamash stared at each other in the eyes. Otherwise, we weren't in a bad place with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it was B'tzad Tzedodei Atzdodei. We had a casual relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's two possibilities in the history of the Jewish people, either a casual relationship or a loving relationship. I spoke on Tisha B'Av about the unbelievable thing that when the enemies went into the base of Mikdash, we had a loving relationship because it's a pella, but it's a pella any way you look at it. But the default, this is what we learned today. The default status of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Klal Yisrael is friends. The status that we can turn it into is a status of love, and that's something that. And by the way, let me just say this that. When Klal Yisrael was Oila Regel, in the time of the Bais Rishon, so it says, the Gemara in Bava Basra, a little further, says that they opened up the parochas, and Klal Yisrael looked at the Kruvim. The Eidus Hula Yisrael, and it was an Eidus, Sha'osin Ritzonei Shel Malkam. Oisin Ritzonei Shel Malkam happens when? All the time. Kineret. Oisin Ritzonei Shel Malkam is always, even if they're Stodei Atzdodei, we're Oisin Ritzonei Shel Malkam. But there's something even more than Oisin Ritzonei Shel Malkam, where it's Ava Zebazeh. You get it? Like that's the big thing here. In other words, there was always they didn't take a chance on opening these parochas. And it doesn't say that when they opened the parochas, there was a shash that they were going to say, oh my gosh, we're in bad shape, because Pneim Levais. No, that's not what happened. What happened is there was always an Eidus. Question is, what's the Eidus? Is the Eidus that they were facing each other, mamish, and we have this unbelievable, really good with God right now, or was it Sedudei Atzdodei that we're Kemedaber Yishim we're having this kind of friendship with? So we need to be ma'ayin tomorrow on what does it mean to have a friendship with Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Kemedaber Yishim which it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, by the way, and what does it mean to have a love with Hakadosh Baruch Hu? Which, by the way, doesn't say by Moshe Rabbeinu. It says Kemedaber Ki Shamadaber Im Reyehu. And but then it also says Panim El Panim, right? That they spoke face to face. So there, the Chazal say there were two things. Sometimes it was Kemedaber Reyehu, sometimes Panim El Panim. You hear me? So like the Pshat is in the deep word between Moshe Rabbeinu and Kadosh Baruch Hu Gufa, there was two matzavim. Never a bad matzav, but there was a matzav of sometimes like a friend, sometimes love, depending on what? Klal Yisrael. So it's exactly the same thing. Look at Moshe Rabbeinu. Here's something which is so deep, that the relationship between Moshe Rabbeinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the relationship of the two Kruvim. Very good. But the relationship of Ponim al Ponim, or Kemedaber Yisrael is not the same thing. That's two different matzavim of the Kruvim, and the Kruvim, he spoke to the Kruvim, represented that relationship, or in general, the relationship possible between man and God. The relationship between man and God is a Pella Atzuma. Why should there be any relationship between man and God? God created the world. But this is the whole Chiddush here. The whole Chiddush of Moshe Rabbeinu was, the whole Chiddush of Nevuah is that Hashem talks to us. And the Chiddush of Tefillah is that we can talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, is it Kimadaber Yishol Re'eyu, or is it Ava?
It seems like this is the only nace where we're firing these synapses, as opposed to the other nisim where it's really, let's see where.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Okay. Thank you. Continue to our 9 o'clock.